Hey there! Stay with me through this video if you're interested in one of these three topics. Number one, you're curious about what hiring or working internationally looks and feels like, and what to pay attention to when working with people from different cultures. Number two, you want to hear an American's first and most memorable impressions on life in Riga, Latvia, when visiting it during the coldest time of the year. And number three, you followed me before, you saw me disappear, now you see me having come back, and you have a healthy curiosity about my professional pivot and my personal life. It's all here. So let's dive in. I just wanted to ask you to do that thing that you did about the blondies and mansplaining.
Mansplaining. Oh.
You know this.
Well, I'm
This program is for women.
Oh, it's for women.
Oh, hell, close the door.
Yes, well, I'll attempt to speak more plainly as simply as an audience of women. I don't want to confuse anyone by using large words.
Can you try really, really hard for extra blondes?
I will do my best to simplify.
Oh, good. Then.
And a non-American blonde. I will do my best.
And you can increase the volume too.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, slower and louder.
We've been monkeying around and including in my YouTube channel when we were talking how I was teaching you Latvian. I was teaching you Latvian.
You were.
I was teaching you Latvian. Did you learn any?
No.
Do you remember balti?
There's way too many versions of what for me to remember.
Do you remember silce?
That exercise to get, what is it, middle of the mouth, tongue activation.
Yes. Yeah. But, well, of course we are friends.
We are.
Good friends.
We are.
Yeah. Do you know there is a saying that you're a good friend and the relationship is tested and proven to be solid, sound, if people have eaten 1 puds of salt together. 1 puds is approximately, I know that it's 36 pounds of salt together. Do you think we are at that point?
Come close.
Yeah.
The amount of salt that, given that our seasonings, our mustard, salt, and garlic powder, with salt being used across
dominant,
we're close.
We're pretty close. So so, but we not only joke around, we can also talk pretty serious stuff sometimes. Sometimes. And let's try to talk a little bit of that serious stuff today as well.
Okay.
And I would like to introduce you not just as a prankster, which you are, and somebody who has a great sense of humor, which I like. No, but somebody who has also been, I would say, a history freak. Would you agree? Somewhat?
Probably not as much of a history freak as I used to be. I've downgraded. I don't study as much. I don't read as much as I did when I was a kid, but definitely try to be a student of history.
Yeah, yes. But in that sense, you are somebody who I am not.
Very well. If you say so. Yes. Yeah.
And then you have traveled quite a lot for an American.
Yes.
Oh, you read my mind.
For an American, yes.
Can you share what country, before Latvia? I'm not going to ask you which is your favorite country to visit, because I am pretty biased.
You're biased, but you did take me, the only time I've been to Latvia was in winter and apparently everyone had collectively decided not to pay their electric bill because it was extremely cold. So I'm not judging Latvia based on that experience.
Well, talking about being cold, it being cold, where do you originally come from?
Originally from upstate New York,
So,
just a stone's throw or two from the Canadian border.
and how cold is it there right
It's
now?
extremely cold. It's actually, I'd say, comparable to Latvia. I think a little colder at times and a little more snow because of where the exact area that I grew up. It is just off of Lake Ontario, situated about halfway between Lake Ontario and the Tug Hill Plateau. So you get all of that wind coming over the lake, picking up moisture, and then starting to go up in elevation. So we get the Canadian wind, and then it just dumps snow all over the place.
You know my story, how I wanted to get out of the place where I used to live.
Yep, I do.
Did you also have that desire to get out?
I think so, and I think part of that was because I was a student of history, much more so at that point, and knowing there was so much more out there, and being from, when I say absolute middle of nowhere, it's pretty darn close. My graduating class was 26 people. My school had like 130, 140 students in it for the entire K through 12 school. Farm country. I knew there was more out there that I wanted to experience. And I had the good fortune of making a decision, right or wrong, to join the military. So I at least got to travel within the US, meet folks from completely different backgrounds, and really get introduced to the idea that America is really all these little different subregions, and everybody's very, very different. It's completely different cultures. And then going to a university where people from all over the world, so getting to spend time with people from completely different cultures, learning more, studying more. The older I got, the more exposure I wanted to what was outside of the bubble that I grew up in.
And you all already got into that topic about meeting people from different cultures that I'm going to address today, because in the previous episode, and this is not only for my podcast, She Became CEO, but I'm also speaking to my YouTube audience. And a part of that audience, quite a large part of that audience, are people who are interested in everything that concerns Latvia. Okay. Not only the Latvian language, but the Latvian culture and that part of the world in general. In the previous podcast episode, I started talking about hiring. Okay. And I have hired international people, if that, for the lack of a better word, since I don't know when, a long time ago. And you have been working with international teams as well. So this is, I'm giving just the context for those people who are thinking, why would I listen to this episode? We will talk about how we observe people, what we notice in the people, and this is also for those people who are interested in everything that concerns Latvia. I'll interrupt the interview for a moment to let you know that if you are a freelancer looking for gigs, check out the careers section of my website. There might be something there for you. You can find it at ilzb.com/careers. And even if there's nothing there for you at this time, it wouldn't hurt for you to sign up for my newsletter so that you don't miss news and announcements when I send them out. But now let's go back to the interview. So before I ask you about Latvia, before you visited Latvia, which country would you say, or which visit stood out to you the most, or what, or maybe countries, you don't want to name one that you
stood out to me in a particular context, or just made the biggest impression?
Biggest impression, what you enjoyed, and I would like to also know why.
That's a great question, and I appreciate different countries, different regions, different things stood out for me. The one that had the biggest impression on me, and the place that money no object. If I could retire tomorrow
Yeah.
and I had lots of figures at the end of my bank account, it would be in Prague. That was one of the first non-typical Western countries. Growing up as a child of the Cold War, Western civilization stopped in the middle of Germany. Getting a chance to go to Prague, it was the first time I was in an area where the culture was, I would say, markedly different. You could tell you were in a very, very different place, but it also had that layer of historical architecture, historical culture. It just resonated much more deeply. Spent some time in England and in France and Amsterdam and Germany before that, but I already had a pretty good understanding of those cultures. And being in the Czech Republic, that was enough of a deviation from that it really struck an impression, but it was such a wonderful experience as well.
Well, that is so interesting that you mentioned that. I didn't know that you had been to Western countries before Prague.
Yep.
And I thought that you would mention Prague. What's funny that Prague is the first country also outside of the Soviet bloc, because I had been previously, before I went to Prague, I had been to like Russia, parts of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine as well. Of course, Estonia and Lithuania. No question about that. But Prague was the first city I flew into. It was my first flight. Yeah. And I really loved Prague as well. So yeah, but now how about Latvia? We went to Latvia, and like you mentioned that we flew into pretty severe weather.
We did, yes.
What was your first impression, and was it anything like you expected?
I think my first impression was pretty muted. It was at the end of a long trip. To your point, we flew into severe weather. We flew out of severe weather. We had snowstorms in North Carolina to leave. We had delayed travel. It was a long trip. So even by the time we got dealing with lost luggage, all those things, my brain was pretty much shut off to imprinting anything new when we got there, because it was just, I just want to get to somewhere where I can shower and I can brush my teeth and I can go to sleep. Could have put me in the middle of the desert. I wouldn't have cared. First impression really was probably that next day, getting up, going to get coffee. First thing that struck me, and it reminded me a lot of my time in Czech Republic, my time in Poland, and that there was this beautiful mix of modern architecture and historical architecture blended together. Also being in very much a city center, very different than anywhere I've really lived. So that impression of, it's like when I've traveled before, you're kind of in the middle of everything as soon as you walk out the front.
Yeah.
That was the biggest kind of switch that had to get flipped in my brain when we got there. Just completely different environment.
Yes. You mentioned architecture, and that brings me to the comment, I would say. I don't know if that's a question, but I remember it was on week 2 when we walked toward what is called the Quiet Center of Riga. And I showed you the business school where I studied, that I graduated. And you have graduated from one of the best business schools, I'd say, in the world. It's one of the Ivy schools and Ivy League schools. And I have graduated from one of the best business schools. And when I showed you that building, I remember what you said, what comment you had. So my question is, if you remember, and if you don't remember, that's fine, because I want to hear what you would say about that, because I think that the contrast, and probably what you would have expected as an American seeing my school compared to your school. Can you elaborate on that?
So compared to the schools that I went to, and grad school at Pittsburgh was a little different because it is in the middle of a larger metropolitan area. You've seen that. Even though it seems to be relatively segmented, you can tell where it starts, where it ends versus the rest of the city. Where I did undergrad at Cornell, it's a city unto itself. It's 26,000 people, or at least it was when I was there. It takes an hour and a half to walk across the campus. It is just a giant, again, a self-contained city, essentially. And that's what stood out. It's a lot like when I've gone and seen universities in major metros, like NYU in the middle of New York City. It's still hard for my brain being used to these campuses completely set off of it's a residential area and some businesses and then school building. And then it's how it's so intermingled into everything else and not a standalone thing. I think as an American, that's my immediate perception when you talk about a university or a school.
Yeah.
And being a rural American, it's separate.
Yes.
It's not part of the broader city ecosystem. So that, I don't know if that's the comment I made, but that's what really stood out to me is it's just so, I don't want to say it looks like any other building in the city, but it could be any other building in the city.
Yes. I think that you said something like that. You've phrased it differently. And I think that now, probably for Latvians, it is difficult to wrap their head around that difference, how different it is. You said something like, this is a beautiful building in a beautiful part of the town, whereas the school that I went to was a town of itself, something like that.
Yeah. I think the easiest way I could put it, if somebody in your audience is Latvian and they can't make the shift to where, like what I went to, imagine driving down the road and you come to a good sized town. Everything is the university.
Yes. Yeah.
Every building you see is part of the university.
Yes. So that's the difference. And if somebody thinks about how to build a business, you take that into consideration if you want to have a business at an airport or in a campus or just simply in the city of Riga. It's also the mindset that people should adopt when they think about an international business.
Oh, no question.
Or local business for that matter.
It's like any other business. Those settings are very much going to determine what your market is.
Talking more about architecture, this will not be exactly about architecture, but a little bit more like about infrastructure. And you know what I complain here about? It's sidewalks.
Yes.
And also connectivity.
Yes.
And you got to experience a little bit of that in Latvia, and probably you understand where I'm coming from when I say the things that I say here.
I do, absolutely. And I think I had a good appreciation for that before because I knew, spending some time in Amsterdam for work as well, walk 5 minutes from the hotel, take a train, next stop, walk 2 minutes to the office. It's absolutely delightful. And being able to do that in Riga and Valmiera as well, it really reinforced how much I would love to have that in the US and how much we are missing out when it seemed like most neighborhoods you could walk 15 minutes and be at a bus stop or a train stop, get really anywhere you needed to be very inexpensively, very quickly. I think that is, I understand the US was built on suburban areas and spreading it out and car culture, and I'd be lying if I said I would really, really want to be in a position where I didn't have my car, because I love having that, control freak. I love having that level of control. But it was really, really enjoyable to not have to worry about making sure we had a car, figuring out where we're going to park. That's one of the things that jumped out to me the first couple of days as we were walking around. It's like, I don't even know where I'd park my car here. I haven't seen a parking garage yet. but being able to real quickly, real easily get anywhere you need to, even on the bus ride that we took, these little tiny towns, there's at least one bus stop.
Yeah.
So it seemed like I would love to see
there are
what
so-
percentage of the population is within a 15-minute walk of mass transit. The other thing that stood out to me, and this is something that I've noticed in other countries as well, but it was a great reminder, and I think I actually made a comment to it on the train ride. It was so quiet, and it was so peaceful, and everybody was just kind of keeping to themselves, and the conversations that were going on were muted because not everybody in the car needed to hear what was being said. And we, as an American culture, as a group, there's this stereotype about loud Americans, and I really wish I could say it's an undeserved stereotype. Absolutely not. One of my first major international trips in college, we did a tour of, we were in London, we were in Amsterdam, we were in Paris, we were in Berlin, right after the wall fell, which that's a whole nother story. But I remember being on a tram in Paris, and most of the students I was traveling with had never been out of upstate New York, except maybe across the border into Canada. But we're on a tram, and one of the young ladies traveling with us, seemingly at the top of her voice, talking about how much she hated Paris. People are rude. Mm-hmm. It's dirt. It's the middle of winter. It's not the best time to be anywhere, but just running down how much she didn't like Paris. And one of our other classmates said, "Hey, keep it down. What are you doing?" "Oh, nobody here understands what I'm saying." And this little old Parisian man pipes in very quietly. He's like,
"Yes, we do."
"No, we all understand what you're saying. We just don't want to engage with you."
Seriously, wow.
But it just, to me, that was when I really became aware of it. So it was a good reinforcement and kind of an odd moment to be sitting on that train. It's like, I can hear myself think.
Yeah.
There's ambient noise here is non-existent. This is amazing. I love this. So
yeah.
It was a wonderful, not just I can get anywhere I want to go quickly. It's like, it's not going to be a miserable experience either. It's going to be relatively relaxing.
Yeah. Now, talking about people, as an American, mm-hmm. even though you are not a typical American, you have mm-hmm. dealt with so many people of other nationalities and you have traveled, as we established already, but did you notice how maybe people in Latvia, I will not say Latvians because Riga is an international city, how people in Latvia differ from people, let's say, in the area that we are here
in southern United States?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big difference, I think, especially from surface level interactions. Mm-hmm. For those of you who have not spent any time in the South in the United States, you could go grocery shopping and your sugar and your honey and your sweetie and just about everybody you see, you're probably going to get direct eye contact. You're going to get a big smile. You're going to get very surface level pleasantries mm-hmm. on the front end. How is your mom? All of those things that are very, very stereotypical of Americans. Here. Very, very open. Small talk is a huge thing. It seems like everybody is going to pretend that everybody knows everybody and that we're all close. Yeah. Even though, behind that surface level, that individual may care nothing about. It's this veneer that we paint on everything to where everybody has a close interaction. Latvia, not so much. And same thing in Poland, same thing in the Czech Republic. I think it's a very Central European, I'd say Western European trait. And it's not that there is a lack of friendliness. There's just not that surface layer assumption that it's there. It's reserved for more when some other interaction happens. So people aren't going to smile at me or didn't smile or make eye contact walking down the street. If you had an interaction with somebody, shopkeeper, somebody having coffee, just whoever it happened to be. Once you get through that first, hey, why are we actually talking to each other? And why are we spending time interacting? The friendliness is there. Mm-hmm. But it's just not that presumed right out front available for everybody. There needs to be some other, why are we connecting and discussing and talking about it?
And from those interactions, did you, I don't know how to put it, did you figure out something new about me, why I am like I am, seeing my folks, or am I atypical Latvian?
I think you're a bit of an interesting hybrid. You've been in the US long enough where there's sometimes that veneer. So I think I got a better understanding, appreciation for there are times where you're more American, there are times where you're more Latvian in your interactions. So maybe it just reinforced for me that there's a rationale for the difference. But again, I already experienced that a little bit in other cultures. So
I do tend to adjust to. In Latvia, I am more like a typical Latvian, and here I do. But it takes a while to adopt those behaviors that are expected in that country. Let's dive a little bit deeper. What were your most memorable, maybe, impressions while in Latvia?
We're gonna go deep down the rabbit hole.
Well, we don't have to. We can be surface level as well.
I think the more impactful, deeper level ones, it was seeing things that I already was aware of, but with more context and with maybe more realism, because I was seeing more of it, not just reading a page on the book, actually reading and seeing stories of people that went through certain things and hearing actual histories. And of course, knowing you the way I do, knowing what you went through, and maybe making that a little bit more real. Going through the occupation museum and the corner house, being an American that grew up during the Cold War. All of you were on the other side of that fence.
Yeah.
And the only context we got on our end was we understood that there were bad things done. Latvia to all those countries in the Soviet satellites is how we were taught to think of them. But they were always the other side. Mm-hmm. Even if it was involuntary. It's like, nope, that's Soviet area. So that's the context I was coming from. Obviously, I've learned a lot since then, but that's kind of the foundation.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah.
So going to those places and really having it hit home just how recent all of that history was. Like I think I made the comment when we were going through the occupation museum. Like it struck me as like when I was a junior in high school when that was going on. I was trying to figure out where I was going to go to college. I was stressing about I got to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow to go to the barn to go to work. And seeing, the things that we heard about a little bit on the news, like you were living through Soviet oppression and living through an active, not maybe so peaceful revolution, regardless of what it's called. It
was called, it is called peaceful, but
yeah, it's not peaceful, even if it's a small number of people that are being violently oppressed. To make an example, it's not peaceful to those people.
Yeah.
But then going through the corner house as well, the old KGB headquarters, and hearing your story and knowing your family's story and the direct connection with it, it made it very, very, very visceral.
Yeah.
And added another layer. It took it beyond the intellectual level of conversation and made it much more emotional.
Yeah.
Of a connection, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. For me as well, no matter how much I try to work on my ancestral traumas or personal traumas, it was still visceral for me. And yeah, maybe it's a lifetime project.
Most likely.
Yeah. Now, we were talking more for this portion of our conversation. We were, I think, talking more to people who are interested in Latvia. But now, for Americans maybe who are listening, because I have American friends as well who are listening, what would you like to tell them? Or maybe if there's one message, what you think they should know? Should is not a good word, but yeah.
Wow, that's a great question. Need more coffee if I'm going to go that deep. I think the message I would have to them, and it's less Latvia specific,
Yeah.
if that's okay. It's very easy for Americans to make discussions about what's going on in other parts of the world very abstract. And it makes it easy for us to think about it in terms of maybe what we're comfortable with or what we see as our moral high ground.
Oh.
And I'll use the example like you and I have talked about. I tend to be very non-interventionalist in my thinking through studying, being a student of history, and also military background. I'm very much on the same page as Smedley Butler, famous Marine coming out of World War I. War is a racket, and that very rarely is military action really, really justified.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy for me to say that sitting in the U.S., very nice, very comfortable, thinking about it's nobody wants us to get involved in their business. We need to just leave everybody alone. Growing up in the 70s and 80s when American foreign policy, maybe it was good intentioned, maybe it was not, but it usually had secondary and tertiary motives that had nothing to do with the well-being of the people in that country.
Yeah.
Somebody was getting a lot of money out of it. Somebody was going to get rich out of it. Very easy, again, for me to take that, have that thought process. But seeing what people have to actually deal with and really what oppression looks like throughout the world. Like we have some friends from Venezuela, knowing what they went through, knowing what you went through, having friends who were other areas of Latin and South America that dealt with a lot of that. I'm lacking a word. There's horribleness they had to deal with, all the oppression they had to deal with. And trying to have a little more nuanced thought of, I don't think it's the United States' job or responsibility or right to try and impose how we think things should be on the rest of the world. But that has to be counterbalanced with some things are just wrong.
Yeah.
And if we're standing by as a party that has the capability to actually help someone and we don't do it, what is the higher morality? Staying out of somebody else's business or helping people that actually would appreciate, like everything going on in Iran? I don't want to get, probably don't want to get political, but looking at what's going on in Iran, I don't think we should be sticking our nose into the Middle East anymore. I also don't think it's okay that there's a regime that's murdering its own people in the streets.
Yeah, tens of thousands. Yes.
Right.
Well, but thank you for saying this, because if I heard correctly what you were saying, you were not encouraging to take one side or another, but just to think deeply, more deeply, maybe get more curious about what is actually going on, and then maybe,
yeah, and a great example of that, maybe a little less visceral, less violent one, from when I was in university in the 1980s and 1990s. Not only was U.S. politically getting engaged and involved in South America, Latin America quite a bit, but that's where we started seeing more expansion of U.S. businesses and manufacturing into those areas. And the college I went to was very, very, we'll say, progressive. That's the word I'll use. So the vast majority of the student body, at least the American students, looked at that expansion as oppressive because we're coming in, we're exploiting resources, we're exploiting people, and it's all to make money. And a lot of that is true. We wouldn't be going, these companies wouldn't be going there if they weren't exploiting resources, people, those things. That's why they go there. But I had a good friend who was from a country where Nike, I believe it was Nike, had just sent up a plant. And we were in a class, and it was one of the things we were talking about. And a lot of my classmates were just hammering on how horrible it was because we're now polluting the area. These people are only getting paid $5 a week. And I had a discussion with my friend. I'm like, well, what's your take on it? Like, you were really quiet during class. You didn't say anything. What's the reality of this? Are they right? And his reply was, yeah, a lot of those things go on.
Yeah.
No question. My village has a school now. We didn't have a school before.
Yeah.
My village has a hospital now.
Yeah.
My village didn't have a hospital. I'm in the United States studying now. There's no way that could happen. I would have even known that I could get scholarships to come here.
Yeah.
All of these things are also true. So yeah, these bad things have happened, but it has opened up an entire world of possibility.
Yeah.
So that juxtaposition of all right, what's actually good, what's actually bad, and understanding that you have to try and at least understand the nuance and know two things can be true at the same time. It could be horrible and amazing at the same time.
Right. Yeah. And we can go really deep into the rabbit hole with this discussion.
Yes.
It's the same applies about people. There are people who think that it was the wrong thing for Latvia to join the European Union. I see some damage done, but I definitely think that it was a good thing. But yeah, there's a lot of nuance to all that. Well, let's get out of that rabbit hole.
Out of the rabbit hole.
Let's talk about food. What did you think about Latvian food?
It's horrible. I couldn't eat anything. It was absolutely fantastic. I wasn't really expecting anything vastly different because I've been
conditioned.
I've had enough Latvian food that I knew I was going to like it. And I think on a base level, it's probably very similar to what northern part of the U.S. is about. It's a lot of meat. It's a lot of potatoes. It's kind of based in that it's not super fancy. If that's a way to describe it. It's not,
but there are fancy places too. We just never went to those.
There are, which I'm appreciative of that because that's all that is lost on me. I'm a simple man. I appreciate simple things. What stood out to me the most was there were foods that I could eat there. And I've got some background health issues. I have very strong sensitivities to certain foods with inflammation and things of that nature. I had zero issues in Latvia. So things like bread, things like potatoes, vegetables, it was all fantastic. We were actually talking about it earlier. Like I'm on a very strict diet now, back in the US. Cannot seem to lose weight. I ate seemingly nonstop in Latvia and dropped weight. So even if the food maybe technically isn't different, and there are things that are different, obviously, Sishikajwaka, things like that, local dishes are different. But the same food is just, the quality is not even comparable to what we get in the US. I mean, we are heavily processed, lots of additives that are illegal in most of the world for a reason. But I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Now, what's your favorite place?
My favorite place
that we ate. Yeah, I know that. I think that I know which one you will mention.
This is going to be a super touristy answer. There's a place called Lidu.
Okay, Lidu.
Lidu. I forgot the ua. I forgot the funny little man. Lidu, which is essentially similar in the U.S. and the South. They have cafeterias, which it's all a la carte. You go in, you take whatever you want, and that's what you have for dinner. And I really liked it because it was an opportunity to try a little of lots of different things.
Oh, then
And
I
it was
was
quick,
wrong.
and it was easy, and it was simple. Were you going to say the Indian restaurant that we went to?
No, no, the market.
Oh, how could I forget the market?
I don't
Yes,
know.
that was. I was trying to think restaurant,
No,
but yeah,
no, the
if I
places where we ate.
anywhere to eat, yes, the market in Latvia, just because everything was so fresh. Like they have a whole building where it's essentially fresh fish, and right off of it, they've got a small place where you eat fresh fish, and there were these little appetizer-looking things with different types of fish. And,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And if you go a couple stalls over, you get dumplings. You get pretty much whatever you want. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. That was, I think, my favorite
Yep.
place of all we went to.
Yes.
Even though
Yep.
it's difficult to mention the favorite one. But for those people now who are still in Latvia, considering themselves Latvians or haven't been out from the European, I don't want to say bloc, but
Mm.
that part of the world, if they were to come here, what would do you think they would need to know as tourists?
Wow, that's a great question. I think the first thing would be understanding that if you don't speak at least some English, traveling in the U.S. is going to be hard.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not like most European countries where if you know one of several languages, you could get by. It's not going to work in
Yeah.
the U.S. unless you speak Spanish, and then there's certain areas you can go to where you won't have a problem. But in general, functional English is pretty important. I think the other thing to be aware of, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, people are going to seem overly friendly to you. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's probably not a sign of something you should worry about. It's not like they're trying to scam you. Some people will be. It's like everywhere in the world, there are going to be people that try and take advantage of you. But that's you will have people making eye contact. You'll have people smiling at you, and that's just the way we are here, and that's okay. You may actually even learn to enjoy it a little bit. The last thing I'll say is understanding the scale of what it is and what it means to visit the U.S.
Yeah.
Because I've in my travels, I've when you're having conversations, people like to ask about the U.S. What's it like in the U.S.?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this earlier. It is entirely dependent on where you are in the U.S. I know, especially moving from the northern U.S. to the southern U.S., it feels like a completely different country at times. We just happen to speak the same language. If you go to some parts of the country, you get down into Cajun country in Louisiana, it's not even the same language.
Yeah.
It's close, but you can have a hard time understanding each other. So the idea of visiting the U.S., you really have to be specific about where are you going? Because if you're prepared and think you're going to New York City and you go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you are not going to be prepared for that trip because it is a completely different animal being in New York versus a smaller city in the South.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about what it's like to work with people from different cultures a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know we've talked about some of the work travel that I've had, and the company I work for is truly global, so I get the chance to work with people from all over the place. I think the most important thing, and this seems to be a reoccurring theme of our discussion, is just awareness of nuance.
Yes.
And being cognizant of differences and not assigning good or bad to any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned even within the US, it was very different the first time I started traveling to southern US for meetings, because where I'm from, I lived in Pittsburgh for a decade and worked there. An 8 o'clock meeting starts at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You're in your seat and the material starts at 8 o'clock.
It's very Latvian.
Yes. The first meeting I had that I was facilitating in Tennessee, I was given a tip the day before. It's like, your meeting starts at 8. Don't start actually having your agenda start until 8:30.
Mm.
Have it on the agenda, but make sure you understand it's not going to happen and have that built into your plan, because that's just a difference culture. So multiply that exponentially when you start talking internationally. So you mentioned Latvia is very similar to the US. We have offices in Germany and Amsterdam and throughout Western Europe as well. When I go to our Amsterdam office, 8 o'clock meeting starts at 8 o'clock. There's also the difference where small talk is not a thing. If you're in one of the offices, Amsterdam, over in Wrocław, Berlin, wherever it is, I really noticed you come to work and you work until it's your time not to work, and then you go home.
Yes.
At your desk, you're going to meet where you have to, but you're working. Whereas in the US, in a corporate setting, in most companies, there is kind of that social butterfly. It drove me nuts when I worked in an office, but people want to chat. And how was your weekend? And how's your new puppy doing? And all these little things.
Yes.
You'd stay longer. Your day would be longer because you have so much to do that you didn't get done. Well, there's all this other stuff going on that has nothing to do with work, which some people love, drives me absolutely nuts. But then you go to other parts of the world, like meetings when I was in Mexico City or meetings in Mumbai. It's very much that it's an 8 o'clock meeting ish.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get started by about 8:30. People will be coming in, going out. It was one of the first things I was warned of when I started working with the team in Mumbai, understanding that it was rarely going to start on time. Part of it is the culture, part of it is the environment. It can take you some days a half hour to go a mile, sometimes some days an hour to travel a mile in Mumbai traffic.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that people just didn't respect the time, they got stuck somewhere. But having those things in the back of your mind and understanding, you can't assume people are going to do things the same way. They're going to approach the same things the same way. And if it's something that deviates from what's normal or accepted in your own culture, it doesn't mean that you're being disrespected. It doesn't mean that people don't care. It doesn't mean they aren't worried about what it is you're trying to get done. Just the norm is different.
Yes.
There.
Very much so. I have noticed it so much in my own travel, especially to Eastern countries such as Turkey, for instance, Egypt, for instance, and having dealt also with Indian people or Chinese people. Yeah, it's very different. In some countries, you even factor in bribing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is interesting for a company like ours, because we have a strict, absolutely not policy. To your point, in some parts of the world,
yes,
that's required. I'm not saying we do it or should do it. It's still a legal problem, and the answer should still be no. But you need to understand that even if you're not going to do business with people who want it, understand it's part of the culture to ask for it.
And you might not even be able to be successful if you don't factor it in. Right. Just like a pretty big surprise for me was to find out how what the pay of waitresses in the US is.
Yes.
Because I come from a country where you have to be paid at least the minimum hourly salary. And I didn't realize that tipping culture is because of they don't receive the minimum salary, hourly salary. So what seems legal here was a surprise for me as somebody from a very different culture.
Yes.
A while ago. Well, we can go deep into this, but I think that we had the main message delivered that the devil is in the details.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's a good common theme throughout this discussion, whether
Yeah.
it's on the business side or just spending time in another culture. It's the devil's in the details and understanding the nuances of kind of the baseline
Yeah.
for the culture you're working with. It's not necessarily good, bad, or indifferent. It's just different.
Scott and I are not going to go much deeper into hiring internationally or managing an international team right now, but I will definitely talk about it more in the future. So please subscribe to my channel to get notifications when something comes out. I also have a previous video where I do talk about what to look out for when considering collaborating with freelancers or teams from another country. I will link that video to this one. It will show up in a box somewhere around here or there. Now you are also planning a trip, actually several trips right now.
Yes.
Where's your next or next trips to that you are preparing?
Well, my next trip is to the company I work for, our corporate office in Tennessee. Not overly exciting. The next big trip is spending time in Amsterdam and Mumbai and Singapore.
And what are you specifically looking for when you get to travel to those places?
Yeah, it's work travel. So most of it is very similar to all other corporate work travel. I will see the airport, and I will see a hotel, and I will see conference rooms. Where I'm hoping to spend a little extra time, I should have a couple extra days over a weekend, maybe in Mumbai, which I've been there before. Absolutely love it. It's very, very different. Living there would be a challenge for me with that many people on top of each other. I need a little more breathing room than that. Singapore, I'm excited for. I've never been, and everyone that talks about it says it's just a completely different experience. So, looking forward to spending a few days touring around Singapore.
Oh, I was hoping you would mention what places you mentioned, what food and what place you want to try in Singapore, and what food is your favorite food in India.
So I don't know if I've. What place did I say I wanted to go?
Did you say that they make their own alcohol or something, or the favorite cocktail or something?
The Singapore Sling. It's a gin mixed drink that originated in Singapore. So I want to go to the. I think it's a hotel bar where they originally had it. Just silly, touristy, stupid stuff. Yeah, favorite food in Mumbai is easy. It's vada pav.
Yeah.
It is this chickpea and potato little patty. It's essentially figure a vegetarian cheeseburger. I don't know what it is, whether it's the spicing or because I'm a carb fiend or what, but something about it is just.
Scott, thank you so much. I wanted to ask you this question because it was not easy to talk you into coming on my show to talk about it, but maybe you can come back and talk about those experiences. Thank you.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
And that's it for today. Please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. I'd really like to hear your thoughts, and if you have any suggestions for other topics around building a business, especially if you're a woman in midlife and beyond, I do want to hear from you. But now, bye-bye till the next time.